wakes us up at night? What makes you walk?
Hey everyone, this is Sid Satellite again. It's me again. I have with me my friend Jaime Samtani with me here to chat with me for my 6th episode of my podcast. Please tell me about yourself, Jaime. Tell
Hey
us
Sid,
about yourself.
thank you for having me. As you mentioned, my name is Jamie. I'm from Hong Kong. I was born there and actually spent the first 5 years of my life in Vancouver, Canada. And then after that, I spent a year in Hong Kong. From the age of 7 up until I was 18, I moved to Beijing with my family. That's where I met you.
Right.
And after 18 years old, I moved to the States, stayed in 2 places in Seattle as well as in Philadelphia. That's where I spent my university years, as well as a year of work afterwards. And then since 2017, I've moved back to China, currently based in Shenzhen, the southern part of China.
Great. Sunshine. I remember going there around 2016 from a school trip when I was in university. It was really hot. It was very humid,
Oh yeah,
but beautiful city.
it,
Food was kind of nice too.
yeah, it was definitely very brutal. As far as the weather, I think, especially this year as well. But it's a super modern city, very close to Hong Kong, very convenient to travel if you were interested in Southeast Asia. Uh, but however, due to COVID, everything is put into restriction now, so that's a bit unfortunate.
That's great. I mean, that's not great. Why would I say that? I was like, oh, that's great. That's so yeah, I just wanted to ask you, because I think you might be one of the most mixed people I know. When I say mixed, it's like, like from different kind of countries mixed. So could you, if you don't mind, would you like to go a
Oh,
little bit into
my
that?
parents definitely fucked around, yeah. Um,
Party people.
um, yeah, my grandparents especially. So my dad, my grandparents, my grandpa is from Portugal, my grandma is from India,
Oh,
and yeah, and then my mom is from Hong Kong. But if you were to go back into, I don't know, 23andMe or whatever ancestry sources, apparently my mom's side, there's partially Malaysian, partially Thai, so that put everything into the equation, um, which then you have
wow.
me.
I heard a rumor, a little birdie told me also that you might be a little bit of Egyptian. Is that correct or no?
No, I think that's Tarek, not me. No,
All right. All right. That's cool, man.
no,
That's very,
yeah,
go on.
I'm not Egyptian. That's what I want
Yeah,
to say.
that's all right. That's Tarek. Yeah. Hey, Tarek, if you're watching. That's very cool, man.
Hey,
Yeah, it's a lot of mixed people I got to meet. I hope you don't mind me calling you that, but I don't normally refer to you as, hey, mixed guy. I just call you my friend. But yeah, got to meet a lot of different people in 55. Also, Leah, who I interviewed, I think my second episode. We also went into a little bit about being a third culture kid. So, like, were you like just nonchalant with that whole thing, or did you get to realize that more as you were growing up, or you just like fit right into it? Like,
initially when I was younger, I was definitely very self-aware about it. I didn't really like attention.
mhm.
I think by looking slightly different than the rest of the people, especially when I was younger, when I was slightly cuter, let's say, there was definitely a lot of attention, and then people definitely asked a lot of questions, and it made me feel really uncomfortable. But moving into elementary school and then moving on to high school where I met you, realizing there's a group of people that are just like me, realizing that the world is just a big melting pot. It definitely made me feel a little bit more confident and more comfortable with myself. And coming to terms that this is the reality, and then this is where the world is heading to. is no longer just like I really don't like the idea of tribalism in culture and things like that. I think people should be. I think that's also a very big blocker into, I suppose, like differences in politics and cultures and things like that. People have ignorance and stuff. That's a lack of understanding, a lack of empathy. So I think being in that environment growing up, being surrounded by uh, a bunch of people from so many different cultures definitely helped me realize that, it's not just absolute black and white. You can definitely
Yeah,
be,
all
everybody can
shades.
definitely get along.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Also, not only in the way we look, but also, let me back up a bit. In high school, I always saw you as someone who could like fit into any group. If there was like a emo group, you probably fit there, and like a jock group, and like Japanese anime group, or like whatever else group there is. You know, I'm just saying those things just for references, but you fit in there, and you could like socialize and like kind of fit in. At least it seemed like to with everyone, which I really admired even back in the day. Well, I was kind of almost stuck, always kind of feeling like stuck in a box. But yeah. And I remember at one point even sharing a bit of how you got to be that way at high school, but I kind of forgot about it. Would you like to add some more stuff on that? Or
sure. I think just to backtrack a little bit because I went to this school when I was in elementary school. I went to this school called Fang Cao Di. You might be familiar with. Actually, a lot of the people that went to that school with me ended up being in number 55 high school. So even though I joined in 55 high school only when I was in 10th grade, it's this kind of weird feeling of being exposed to people that I'm familiar with. So that so it made me fit in a little bit more easier, but also I was 16 at the time. I was still kind of figuring myself out, and I thought, well, why not kind of just try to fit into every group and listen to what they have to say and try to understand them, and try not to be as, I don't know, to stick into one thing. I like sports. I like music, obviously. Not so much about the anime, but I was kind of in the class of people that are just hardcore anime fans. But but I've always been quite open-minded into hearing and understanding new things and cultures, and so I guess that's why that I wanted to um, more
yeah,
open-minded into accepting these things.
I can see it bleed into other parts of your life too, such as like obviously like socializing with people, but also I'm sure it kind of affects you in your life right now too. You have friends from all sorts of places, and it just comes to you naturally. Someone once said to me, "A gentleman fits anywhere," and you probably are a gentleman, Jamie. But also, I can also see that same thing apply to your musical tastes. Like you like to hear different kind of stuff, and you have like a collective kind of mind when it comes to music. So now let's start talking about music.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, because I have this segment in my podcast where I just try to recall back to the first time I met or noticed someone. So let me do that with you this time. I think the first time I noticed you was like you took the same bus as me uh, back home because we lived in the same neighborhood or in high school or whatever. And that's when I got to realize that you liked a lot of the same kind of music, or you're aware of those kind of music. You also used to play a little bit of guitar, and you knew more songs than I did back then. For example, you could like always figure out songs really easy. Like I remember this one time where I was talking about the song "Cancer" by My Chemical Romance, and you just picked up a guitar and like, oh, is that how it goes? And you kind of did that. That is one of my examples with it. And also, you were like kind of helping me out with my formative years for my taste when I was 17. Like, you told me to go past Wonderwall for Oasis and check out the first two albums. And I did, and that was the best decision of my life. And how we used to hang out after school, and you told me about the Strokes and stuff, and that got me listening to the Strokes. So I wanted to ask you, do you have certain memories like that growing up when someone else made you listen to certain things, like I just told you?
Um, yes, but more so with that question, it was more so it happened more so when I was in university. But as far as like my musical taste at the beginning, I think my parents were big fans of 80s music, but for artists like Whitney Houston, Celine Dion, Michael Jackson, things like that. So they've always had these records playing around in the house. I remember there was DVD box set back when we still watched this DVD of a collection of like Oscar-winning songs, but also accompanied with the scenes from the movie that these songs were in. I remember just like watching through them and then thinking that music is such a cinematic experience. I remember particularly there's a song by this band from the 80s called Berlin. They had a song called Take My Breath Away, which was featured in Top Gun. I don't know if you've seen it before. It was Tom Cruise being a pilot. Very iconic movie. And then there was this scene in the song. So it was quite synth heavy, very cinematic, ethereal. And then there's a scene where Tom Cruise's character was having sex with his instructor in the movie, and it was all kind of shot in silhouette. And then I remember it was all when that scene came in, it was also the bridge of the song came in. And then I remember I was 6 years old watching a sex scene. They were like French kissing each other. I said, wow.
In the silhouette.
If this, yeah, in silhouette, exactly. And then I said, wow, I've never seen anything like this before. And then fast forward when I was 14 years old, when I lost my first kiss to a girl, and I was kissing her in the park. I was so bummed out because there's no music at the background. Instead, it was just breezing winter wind, and then a slight bit of awkwardness. But yeah, but that's always kind of, I always kind of associated music with kind of with imagery and visual and kind of living my head with music. And then kind of every time I listen to music, I just kind of associate put my head into a specific place. I like walking around with my headphone, listening to records and stuff.
I can totally relate to that, and I'm gonna give you another flashback of me realizing that you're like that. You're like that. No, me too. I can totally relate to that. I like to automatically picture and imagine things. I like to walk around with it, sit around with it, brush my teeth to it. I'm kidding. But yeah, this one time when I was in ninth grade, you came to my class because we were just talking about songwriting and stuff. We are just figuring it out. And you're like, yeah, I wrote a song too, but it's not about like girls or something. It's more about like space and sound and stuff like that. It's kind of like you too, I remember you telling me that, and I was like, whoa, what does that mean? Because yeah. So
I don't remember that song, but
me neither.
but I remember like we were
Mm.
but I definitely remember we had that conversation for sure. But back to like you were saying, I guess before I was 11 or 12 years old, I was kind of always listening to just straight up pop music, like the poppiest of pop music, and I thought that was the coolest thing. And then one time I was walking in a record store in Hong Kong. This was 2004. I remember watching the news that at the Grammy Award of that year, there's this band called Green Day who won the Best Rock Album.
Which year was this?
2004. So they came up with an album called American Idiot. And I thought the title was really funny. So I went to the record store. I don't know if you've been to HMV before. So there's a record store where they would put the top 10 albums of the week, and then you could listen to it. They have like a kind of a Walkman type of thing. You can listen to the album before you decide to buy them. So I saw the album, I saw the album cover. I thought, this is really funny. Let's give it a listen. I thought it would be just some kind of goofy, silly thing. Little did I know, I put on the headphone, and then the riff of American Idiot came in, and it felt like a wall, just like hit straight in my face. It was also, I also just started to learn how to play the guitar. So I thought that was the craziest thing I heard at the time. So I listened. Oh, well, I skipped the second song because it was really confusing. It was like 9 minutes long. So I skipped the third song, Holiday, and I was like, wow, this is, I need to know how to play the song. So that was kind of my way into rock music. And then since then, I was really fascinated, just collecting music magazines, just crazy about reading into like new music and new bands. And then I'll be drawn into the descriptions like Brit pop, hip hop, electronic music. I would be so strung by these keywords, punk, post punk. And then it would just make me want to kind of discover these bands and then listen to them. And then over time, it just kind of slowly expanded my musical taste.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, American Idiot is definitely one of my favorite albums too.
Same
Um,
here.
like funny thing about that album is like there are some songs I've heard through people and I had memorized that I hadn't even heard the original yet. It was like a folk gospel back in the day.
Do you want me to share? Sorry to interrupt. Do you want me to share an anecdote about
Sure.
when it comes to Green Day?
Yeah.
So I met you when you were in ninth grade. I was 10th grade,
Yeah.
and then it was the year that Green Day came out with the album after American Idiot, 21st Century Breakdown.
Right.
And we were all like getting so excited about it. Oh, I wonder how it's gonna sound like. It's gonna sound sick because we both realized that we're both fans of the band. And then you got a hold of the leak version of the album. And then you came up to me like, bro, I got the leak version of 21st Century Breakdown. It's so great. And then this was before streaming, by the way, before music was widely accessible. And I just said to you, can I have your iPod for a class period? It's physics. I don't really want to listen to it. We could just fuck around with it. So you gave me my iPod and it was physics class. I took one earbud and then I gave my other earbud to my classmate called Jesse. You might remember him. He was also like kind of into Green Day, so we're just like listening the album as we're listening to as we're in class. And then, it was probably the quality of that leaked version wasn't even that great, but I thought, wow, it felt great, just getting hold of the new record and that kind of excitement. And I remember you giving me the iPod, and I just thought the whole ceremony of that kind of, and it's probably something that we'll never ever get to experience again because of streaming and everything being so widely accessible. I don't know if you remember that story, but
I think I remember
it's,
giving the iPod to you. Yeah. That those
yeah,
I think it kind of froze for a couple seconds around the end of that story, but I think I got the gist of it. Yeah, it still
wow.
sticks with you. Yeah, those times are great. It's like 55. It just like kind of felt like skipping rope through park because it was kind of felt easy and got to discover a lot of
Carefree.
carefree. And then uh, we we used to bring guitars to class, and they used to come in and jam at times, and share a bit of your gospel with us. And then yeah, we even eventually formed a band with you, Remo, uh, Luke, Uke, and Daniel, and that was great. We did a couple shows, one at the Canadian high school, and another one
So
at
yes,
in Vix for Battle of the Bands. And you had your original songs, and we did like one cover, which by Rancid, Ruby Soho. And I'll share that clip right now, maybe a bit of that clip. I just want to share
sure.
to the world. Cool. So that was really
Wow,
fun.
memories.
Memories, man.
Yeah, I remember like you were talking about how you met me for the first time. Do you want me to tell you my version of how I
Oh,
met you
sure,
for the first time?
sure.
So, like I said, I knew quite a lot of people from 55 before I even transferred there. Um, so I definitely did a bit of homework on Facebook, and I knew that my neighbor, Yuke, my old neighbor, was in 55 as well. So I kind of, and I realized, oh, he's in a band. He plays the bass. Maybe I could be in a band. And I saw him playing with you. So I realized, oh, Saul Getsuwa. That's the guy I need to like talk to. So I think this was like second or third day into me going into the new school. And I walked into youth classroom and sure as hell you're playing guitar, you're just like ripping some riff during class periods. And I walked in and I said hi to you. And then for some reason, I was a little bit intimidated actually. I wasn't sure. I always thought like people could play the guitars a bit intimidating because they're, probably way better than I am. And I said to you, can I play with you? Can I play with your guitar for a bit? I said, yeah, sure. So I just kind of took your guitar, or it was probably Sorok's guitar, whatever it was. And I was just playing around, and then that's how like we met each other for the first time, and then we kind of quickly bonded afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, I still remember. Yeah, I still remember the clothes you might be wearing, like a 55 hoodie. I don't know if you
Yeah.
still own it. And a
Oh, I
scarf.
wish. I wish I had it. Yeah, definitely
It's,
the scarf. Yeah.
it's long gone, man. And also talking about music and how we met, and like you continue like spreading your light for new music to me over the years, because we always chat on like Instagram or whatever messenger. We always
Jay, yeah.
we always
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I know. We always bond on like music, like, hey, have you checked this out? And we always talk about some news about like Noel Gallagher or like, you know. But you told me about this new album from Wolf Alice the day it came out. You're like, hey, you got to check it out. It's called Blue Weekend or something, right?
That's right.
That was 3-4 months ago. But another one I'm really happy about that you showed me is Sam Fender, 17 Going Under. That was a good album. I've been listening to it over the past couple weeks, biking and just walking, sitting on a bench. That's great. Would you like to say some more stuff about that album, or what do you think about it?
To be honest with you, I haven't listened to the entire album.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Plot twist. But I
No, no, I'm not.
definitely, I mean,
Yeah, I'm
I've
not
always
asking
been
you
a
to go
fan of,
track. Yeah, I'm not asking
yeah,
you to go track by track or anything.
but I like the, the authenticity that, because that Sam has. It's a very typical singer-songwriting, songwriter type of artist, and his music is since his first album. This is his second album. When I picked up on him, it it has this kind of nostalgic feelings that I would have when I was listening to artists like Bruce Springsteen or even like Tom Petty and things like that. Very big, anthemic, working class, if you will, kind of sentiment. And I thought this was a kind of a breath of a fresh air in this modern musical day and age. So that stuck with me. And then also his lyrics are superb, and it's
Superb.
yeah. So I thought it would be worthwhile to share it to you because I would think that you might find it enjoyable.
Yeah, his vocal style is not like my typical style, but I'm growing into it. It's really good. And also backing up a few years. I think the last time I saw you in person, it was in a hot pot place with a bunch of friends. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And then you had your earphones. You're like, Sid, check this out. I've been getting into this too. And it was like a shoegaze band from the 90s, Ride. And you showed me Dreams Burn Down. That was a really good music that you shared with me, because that kind of stuck with me over the years too. It's a really good song. I would have never listened to it by myself unless someone pushed me to, and that was it.
Yeah, that's something, shoegaze and ambient music was actually something that I've been really into in the past few years. When I first started playing the guitar or, playing any instruments in general, like most people, you wanted to be the fastest player, you wanted to be the most technical players, or you wanted to make it the loudest sounds and the flashiest tricks. But over the years, as I discovered more artists and as I understood the instrument and production a little bit better, I realized I was really drawn into the textural elements of music. When it comes to guitar, it's not necessarily you have the craziest distortion or overdrive, but if you put a lot of reverb and chorus and reverse reverb or whatever, and you create this kind of environment where it almost felt like you're being drowned into that environment. That was something that I'm quite fascinated by, not only in shoegaze music, but also like in kind of ambient electronica, not
Yeah.
not EDM, so to speak. So I find myself quite enjoying um, that kind of music and fascinated by how it's done. And there's this album that definitely pioneered that, called Loveless by this Irish band called My Bloody Valentine.
Mm.
Maybe you've heard of it. Yeah, where it really challenged the relationship between like a vocalist and music. Because on that album, the vocalist or lyrics is just purely served as an instrument. In other music where vocal is like the forefront of the song, in
Right.
this album, it's just being kind of drowned by an ocean of loud, distorted guitars, and it felt like you're listening to music underwater. It's very interesting. It's
Mm.
very abstract.
Great. So when you say those things, kidding. What's your problem? I'm kidding. When you say those things, do you obviously have picture and you imagine scenarios like you mentioned earlier because you that comes to you naturally, right? And that kind of helps you with listening too, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, every kind of music, or especially the ones that I find kind of musically enjoyable, definitely brings me to a time and place. If especially if it's music that I particularly enjoyed when I was younger, and it definitely took me back to that time and place for sure. Um, and people say that music is a young man's game, and sometimes I'm getting a little bit older. But sometimes when I listen to certain music or when I listen to kind of a newer bands, artists, exploring that kind of sentiment where that I would normally feel when I was younger, it definitely, not only does it make me feel nostalgic, but it also make me feel slightly old, even though I'm just 28.
Mm.
It's a very funny feeling,
You're not that far off from where I am, and
Yeah,
I don't think music is a young man's game at all. At least not now. Can I show you something I found recently in a thrift store?
absolutely.
I'll edit my trip to there, but I'll show you. It's my proudest possession right now. And let me show you a couple of things. Cause hold on. So like a couple of years ago, one of my friends gave me like a record player because I always wanted one. He just gave it to me for free, secondhand. And over the years, I've been collecting some records, but these ones I'm gonna show you, I bought in a thrift store for 99 cents this other day.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So this one I found, it's like at least 50-year-old, maybe more. It's like folk songs.
Nice.
It has a lot of crackles and stuff in it. Could you hear me when I said that? It has a lot of crackles and stuff in it,
Yeah.
but it sounds beautiful. It also has a song called "Good Night, Irene." Good night, Irene. Good night. Anyways, that's a folk song. That's not the one I'm interested about that much. This one is just basic opera of like Mozart. It's good for the
Very
soul
nice.
sometimes, you know. It's so good too. I love the smell of the sleeves. It takes you back. Kind of sounds like old library. It smells like a library or something. I love that feeling I get when I smell. And this one's the one I'm excited about because this one it says I don't know if you can see, but it's opposite since
Yeah,
we're in Zoom. 60 years of music America loves best. So it has like earliest music recorded in America, at least 1928 by Gene Austin, Ramona. That's one's my favorite so far. And in the back,
that's
there's a
amazing.
classic picture of the. I think you'll see this a lot of places because that's like the
Yeah,
staple. Yeah, and this smells like death, man. But yeah, it's so good. Like I'm still getting into it. It has like oldest operas to like sometimes when I hear it, I feel like I'm in the movie King Kong, and King Kong is like running
mhm.
around in the city. But yeah, it's a good vibe. It's
I
I like
can't
to
believe you only
yeah.
got those for like 99 cents each.
Oh yeah, and I bought some cleaners for my vinyl. I'm gonna clean it up and gonna keep it for as
If I
long
were
as I'm alive.
if I were to get a piece of vinyl um in here, it would cost me at least 250 RMB, which I
Wow,
guess translates to US dollars as about
25.
35 $40. So
Mhm.
that's why I said Jesus Christ earlier. I said, wow, that's so cheap. I wish, because I always wanted to have my own collection as well on my favorite records and some of them that I want to find out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a secondhand thrift store. That's why it was so cheap. It is probably in scratched.
And it's the best, that's where in secondhand thrift shop store, that's where you find records like these.
Yeah. Have you watched this movie called The Boat That Rocked?
Say again?
The Boat That Rocked.
No.
2009. It came out in 2009. I think that movie is one of the things that kind of inspired me to do the podcast. It's like a pirate radio on a ship on international waters, because back in the 60s, like rock and roll was kind of seen as like avant-garde in a way. I think so,
Taboo. Tab-
yeah, taboo. So they had to go a little bit out of their country to play it, and then the government is trying to shut down that radio station, and they play a lot of records and vinyls and talk and hang out with friends on that boat. That's what the movie's about. And I think it came out in 2009. There's a lot of good soundtracks.
yeah,
Yeah,
I need
man.
to check it out.
Yeah, definitely. So
Boat boat that rock, or
the boat that rocked.
the boat that rocked. Okay. I've heard of that title before, actually.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, so besides music and stuff like that, we got into it. What have you been doing these days? Not you don't have to get in detail, just like in general. You still keep in touch with music, right? Obviously, I see a guitar back there. Feel free to play a song
Yeah.
if you like in the end or whenever, if you like.
Um I still try to play music here and there. I have a keyboard actually on my, oh, maybe you
Sure.
can see here. There's a MIDI keyboard over here that
Mm-hmm.
I would hook onto my Logic, which was kind of the reason why we had a technical difficulties earlier. Sometimes I would just like messing around with like some just weird soundscapes. I'm not very good at piano at all, but I could play some chords and then just experiment with different sounds and when I get the time. But besides that, I mean, work has been busy, but in my downtime, I do try to pick up the guitar, just play some songs, uh, also play some sports with friends if when possible.
Basketball,
Um,
soccer,
football, soccer,
football. Yeah,
football. Yeah, yeah, more so with football and tennis as well.
great.
Um, yeah, near where I live, there's actually quite a bit of nature. So I also like to take my scooter. I don't know if you remember those Chinese scooters.
Diandong
Drive around. Oh
Diandong.
yeah, oh yeah. Just drive around and
Oh yeah.
get in touch with nature. Sometimes I don't have to drive around. I could just walk around or jog around that, and it takes the stress away.
We need nature on a daily basis because that's what humans are. Some say we need to walk barefoot and touch the earth so we feel better, like the electrolytes. I don't know the science behind it, but
Hmm.
mhm.
Especially where I am, it's such a kind of super modern place filled with skyscrapers and just a lot of metropolitan elements. And sometimes we get lost from that. it's important to kind of sometimes put yourself away from it and get in touch with nature. Like the analogy you were saying, feel the nature, feel the air, feel the trees, and because that's where everything started. We wouldn't have all these things that we have now without the nature. Scientific studies and everything that we have with regards to technological advancements, it's all kind of started with the ground, the nature. Exactly. So it's it makes me humble. It humbles myself. It doesn't. We're all inevitably have egos, and sometimes walking around the nature and feeling just how little you are. We're not talking about cosmic universe, of course, but just realizing you're one with the nature, it humbles me.
Yeah, that's true. And also sometimes you need to like look up because we kind of get lost in the ground. So sometimes looking
Yeah.
up in the sky, open sky, kind of makes you feel the same way with the way you do in the nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And for me, Shenzhen is it's a modern city. It's a competitive city. When I hear conversations from people, it's a very young city with people like my age, just fighting their way through the career ladder. And sometimes, a lot of times actually, when I get stuck in a conversation with people like myself, they talk about career, they talk about finances, they talk about buying houses and all these kind of, I don't know, societal expectations, and how overworked they are, how burnout they are, or how much more they need to do in order to reach the next milestone. But sometimes it can make a person quite lost, and I think it's important to acknowledge that you need some downtime to yourself. You need to kind of develop hobby. You need to develop, like I said, your relationship with nature. You need to develop a hobby in general. Just life is more than just work or salary or money. There's more to it. There's an analogy. It's a Chinese analogy. Life. There's in Chinese it says 诗和远方, which means poetry and far away. That's what we look forward to. We need to have some kind of art or some kind of taste, some kind of higher, not higher enjoyment, but some kind of like acquired taste, for you to realize the beauty in life. And I think sometimes people get carried away with the societal pressure, and I just wish people could sometimes not think about that and have fun in life, because if we're lucky, we get to live 60, 70 years, if even. So there's very little you can do. So why not make the most out of it? Fail,
That's true.
well, yeah, fail and, climb up and do it again. Challenge yourself, step outside of the comfort zone a little bit,
You gotta step outside the comfort zone, but sometimes it's not the most natural thing. We feel like, it feels like it's against our psychological to be out of the comfort,
Yeah.
because our brain is always trying to protect us. But sometimes we
Mhm.
must get out of our own way. Yeah. Yeah, man, that's good message. Great. If any of you guys are in a rut, please try this out. Just put on some blindfolds and cross the street. I'm kidding. Just go out there, maybe one day at a time. Just do something that you normally wouldn't. Baby steps. Just go out and try new things. Maybe starting a conversation in a cafe, or maybe I don't know, just little things. Apply for that job
You
you
know,
wanted.
you know what I was thinking? I don't know if this was like from something that I was watching the other day or a conversation that we had. When we're having dinner now, when we sit in a group setting, it's getting less and less often that we actually strike a conversation when we're having dinner, right? Because we have our phones. People just naturally kind of, just juggling on their phones rather than, as back in the old days, you put your phone away or you don't have the phone. You just use whatever it is, lunch or dinner or breakfast, as an opportunity to kind of catch up with everybody. How's your day? Something interesting happened to me at school today, etc., etc. People don't. It's actually is quite a ceremonial thing to do, but then we don't really have that anymore because we have all these devices that could kind of carry us away from looking at whatever just to be lazy and not think for a second.
Oh,
It's
that's
kind
really
of a
interesting.
lost. It's
Mhm.
kind of a lost art in a way, right?
Yeah, that kind of brings me to exactly to what you're saying. I don't know who, maybe it was Beatrice or whoever said to me a few years ago, like the idea of living room is going to be gone because everyone's going to go to their rooms and watch their stuff and eat, in their homes. So the idea of the living room is going to disappear. That is kind of depressing to hear. Hope not.
It is.
When
It is. I've lived in apartments in the past where I share houses with other housemates, and it's people just when they come home from whatever, they just go back to their room. They eat in their room, and I don't even understand why people want to eat in their rooms. But people just go back to their own cubicles and just kind of do their own thing rather than bonding with people that you're living with or people that you're sharing spaces with.
that's
Yeah, yeah.
That's true. Since we're already talking about food now, I'd like to, get some into that, some fine cuisine, and I'm also kind of getting a little hungry. So let's talk about food a bit. I want to hear about your
Sure.
tastes in food. What kind of food do you fancy, Jamie?
What kind of food do I
Jamie with an
fancy?
I.
Hmm, Thank you very much. I yeah, you have no idea how many people make that mistake, but I'm used
Yeah,
to it. Um,
Jaimie.
Thank you very much. I am actually mostly vegetarian now.
Mm,
So right now, my choice of food is mainly healthier, health oriented stuff. Um, I like some baked vegetables. I like good salads. I like to try new things vegetarian wise because it's still not very popular in China, so to speak. But I still sometimes kind of fall back into the meat eating things. And so if it's like 3 a.m. in the morning on a Saturday night, I definitely like to smash a Big Mac for sure. Um, but that being said, I definitely enjoyed Mexican food a lot. Um, I like Southeast Asian food. There's a lot of vegetarian options underneath that. Um,
mm.
Japanese food, I like.
Katoya.
Uh, yeah, yeah, that's true. There, yeah. Some of my friends here would laugh at me because I like to take them to these Japanese restaurants like almost every time on the weekends. It's a really nice kind of a similar to Katoya. It's called Otowa. That's quite nice.
Yeah, can you tell me
But
a
yeah,
couple dishes in particular that you like in the Japanese cuisine? So maybe I could share a picture or something.
um, okay. So there's this place that I go to. There's this amazing potato salad. So
Mhm.
basically, what they would do, they would shred the potatoes into like this kind of crispy pieces, and they would shred I believe, lettuce together, and they'll mix it with, I believe, mayonnaise, and then it's a really nice appetizer, and it's one of the best things I've had in a long time. Um, but I also like a good omuri rice, which is basically like an omelet but with rice inside.
How do you spell it?
Omuri, Omuri,
Omri
rice.
rice. Great.
So it's basically, so it's like it's like a very shitty, like imagine like Japanese people say omelets, like
Omelets.
yeah, I'm thinking like South Park. But omuri rice, there you can sprinkle a little bit of like tomato sauce on the omelet, and it's
Mm-hmm.
actually quite delicious.
Mm.
Also like to cook quite a bit. There's this. There's this girl that I dated a couple of years ago. She's a vegetarian. She kind of brought me into vegetarian slash veganism, and she made this like really great dish where it's like a, what is it? It's like a chili, bean
Mm.
chili. That's amazing.
Vegetarian
It
chili.
had, yeah.
Yeah.
So you put some kidney beans. You can put some chickpeas if you want. Carrots, celery, onions, garlic,
And
and
those
you can
crisp
put a little bit.
tortillas on the top.
Sure, that's actually a good idea. Not that I tried it, but yeah, and then you put some like tomato paste on top of it, so it gives you this kind of concentration, and it's it's so good.
That sounds good. Not to get too carried away with food, but I also want to ask you about Chinese cuisine. Is there anything in particular that you like? Doesn't matter now, but like your all time growing up or whatever.
Um, I like uh um Cantonese food is really good actually.
Mm.
But I don't have the stomach for it anymore, unfortunately. But I really like spicy food. So like Sichuan and Hunan food back in the day was my
Hmm.
absolute go-to.
Still, yeah.
Um, but also one thing that I guess a lot of people know me for is like street food in Beijing. So
Yeah.
like jianbing,
Jianbing, hell yeah.
jidanguanbing. Yeah,
Jidanguanbing.
they're the best. Please attach a picture of it.
Hell yeah. Hell
Uh,
yeah.
uh, I heard they've raised the price to like 15 kuai a piece now, whereas
Wow.
back in the day we can only get it for 5 kuai, and
Mhm.
it's amazing. You
Yeah.
can do it for breakfast. You could do it as like a midnight snack after a night out. It's
Mhm.
honestly one of the best things in this entire universe.
Yeah, it's definitely a really good drunk food. It's drunk street food, Jianbing. And also
Yeah,
breakfast,
yeah. You see people
affordable back
lined
in
up.
the day.
Yeah,
Mm,
absolutely.
interesting. Anyways, yeah, man, it's been so we're gonna have to come to a segment where we close this shut down.
Hmm.
Um, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and thank you for sharing a bit of your crazy little world with us, our viewers, my viewers, your viewers. Thank you for that. Thanks for talking about music, food, third culture, kid situation, and your upbringing and uh, flashbacks. I'm gonna add some of those things in it. Is there anything else you'd like to add to the viewers for music lovers and you know people who listen to music? Anything you'd like to add to them?
Ladies and gentlemen, subscribe to Sid Satellite. Click the link below.
That's this side. God damn it! I'm kidding. I don't know where it's
Yeah.
gonna be. Thank you, man. Thank you, Jamie. Thanks for
Thank you
being
for
a part
having
of
me.
this.
It's a pleasure, and I wish we can catch up more frequently like this.
Hell yeah.
Share music as always, and we can also do like face to face like this. I really enjoyed it, and definitely want to play some more music. You can, yeah.
Do you have any things online that we can check out? If not, that's cool. Would you like me to share your Instagram?
Sure. If anyone cares at all, sure. But I don't have any online press. I mean, like MySpace or anything.
That's
or whatever. Friendster or MSN. Yeah, none of that. Yeah.
yeah, it's cool. So yeah, I'm gonna share your Instagram just for people who are interested. Just
Perfectly
like
women. Yeah.
yeah, all the ladies go check out Jamie or whoever.
Yeah.
Our outer space aliens and yeah. If aliens landed, it'd be best idea if they met you first, to get an overall idea.
They would probably somehow related to me, due to my
Yeah.
parents.
Yeah, you're so mixed. You might be even intergalactic. That's great. Anyways, thank you, Jamie.
What keeps us up at night?
Thanks again, Sid.
What makes you walk and walk for miles? What makes me stare out my window at night? Ooh, what a sight. Television presenting us the stars through the airwaves. Same airwaves that carried messages from you to the loved ones around this modern globe. Scattered. The love that travels.